you like it because I really like the concept. The only bad thing is the cost, because when you work in the industry, everyone always asks the money. Your boss will ask, oh, how much cost me? Okay, if it will cost me, okay, 1 million, so how much you can earn 1 million back for me? That's the next question. So you always, I don't know, this is the real world. Okay, so it got a lot of benefits. So here is the, I collect now in a world, the most famous they're working on the fruit ice bed in the twin fruit ice bed gas fire in the world. uh a lot of people like North European countries, like Norway or Swiss, they got a lot of study. And but the most famous actually is still those four here I introduced. The first is United States civil gas, but actually civil gas project has ended because of the funding stop, and they already licensing to another private company called BioWaste, and BioWaste carry on, but the capacity or the size of the company is very is medium size company, so they are not doing much of the research much. So they were working on the CFB, and they use biomass as a feedstock. They claim they can have the capacity around like 200 tons per day. So this is CFD and uses sand. And actually, if you look at the CFD here, two CFD here, if you work in the industrial like Formosa or the CPC, you will probably think about another thing called the FCC, fluidized cracking bed. So FCC is a very old technology they use to use the catalyst. Catalyst will reaction in one side and regenerate in another side and recycle back to the other side. So they call the FCC. This a long history for this kind of things, but they use the catalyst use the bad material instead of the bad material. So this is the differences. But even even it's different. Even the concept is similar, but the design is still very different because the density. When you do the synthesis of catalyst, especially like a zeolite, zeolite the density is below 1. It's around like 0.7 to 0.8. And for the sand, you normally dealing around like 1.2 or 1.3. So the density differences make it difficult to choose. Not difficult to choose, I should say. You have to choose the the sand size in a different from the regular FCC system. So even it looks like very similar for the FCC and the CIVA gas system, but actually the design is completely different. The second thing is the most famous. This is in Australia, in a what do you call the city name? Australia, uh, Myanmar, and not Vietnam. Myanmar is South Asia. Australia, they got the FICFE, the first internal circulation fluidized bed. They call it FICFB. That's why it's the most successful demonstration in the world. They use the wood as a feedstock, and the capacity is around like 2,000 tons per day. So basically, this is really a commercialized dew bed, fluidized bed. They run for the record like 75,000 hours continuously 1 year. and they have two Siemens power generation systems. And the power generation system actually is the most weak part in the whole plant. The power generation system has to maintain every 3 months, but they have two sets. So gets fired run more than 7,500 hours a year. It's quite incredible. It's very quite incredible, continuously, non-stop, 17.5 hours. You know, normally if you talk about planes around, like people will say, oh, how much money you will run a year? They will say like 300 hours, 300 days or 7,000 hours a year, because you need the maintenance time. So every year you have to shut down the system and clean out things and do the maintenance, or you never run another long time. And they have the record for more than 75 hours. It's very impossible. There's the most famous the governor of the California, who was I don't know how to pronounce his name. Swansiger. Yeah, he was there to visit there when he was governor, because he tried to promote some green things. So he was there. He visited there. So it's famous things. They even put his picture on the website to show the government was here. And the special things for this season so successfully because they use olivine. Olivine. This is the key thing. I talked about it this morning. All the gasification facing the one issue and the most important issue, the important and not the only one, but the most important issue is tar. And Australia has the natural olivine, and the natural olivine is cheap. Cheap, I can tell you, like 1 ton is around 5,000 new NT dollars, 5,000. So 1 kilogram is around like $5. So it's almost the same price as the sand you can buy in Taiwan. It's just like a mining thing. So you mine from the ground, and so the price is similar like sand. So what's the differences? I will show you the system. Okay, and for the other one is called the Minena. I worked there for half year. I got a privilege to work with them, and they are very focused in this one is in the Netherlands. Actually, I love the Netherlands. I travel when I live in the Netherlands in half year, and during time I travel for European time, for other countries, for a lot of other countries. But I still, because people over there is still, I think the Dutch people friendly, most friendly. And I do you have French people here? French? You are? I really don't like French people. They are not friendly. And when I try, I went to Paris for twice, and I lose 200 euro. There's a three gypsy girls, and they come close, and I walk with my wife, and two gypsy girls, and they want me to sign something. So they use I don't know, a form with a plate, and want me to sign something. I say no, 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 no. I say no. I say no. And after like 10 seconds, one of the girl run back to me, says, "Hey sir, your wallet is on the on ground." I said, "What?" So I walk back, and oh, thank God, they only took the euro. They didn't took my US dollars because I was traveling from the United States to Europe at that time, the first time to Paris. And my wife was so angry, says because she is asking me, so just push them away. Don't be so nicely. Because I always say I just not adjust and say no, no, no. I didn't push them away from me, but next time I will push. I really lose 200 or 300 euro because when I pick up, oh my God, I even don't know my wallet was a pick. it's Paris is very seriously. And when I traveled to the I took the train to the what do you call it, the cell, Jose, yeah. There's a whole bunch of not whole bunch, one by one weird people. You sitting in the train in the cabin. They will inside and put small thing in a seat. I don't know that what is that, and I don't want to touch it. And they don't care do you take it or not. If you don't take it, you put it aside. And later I realized they coming back. They said you take the later, not later, just a sheet of paper. They say you take it and you have to pay me like a $10 or $20 or something like that because you take it. It's happened. It's happened. And so the second time I was in Paris, I actually because I I don't like French, but my my wife loved French, so we went the second time. She won't go again, but I was so nervous because I would pickpocket leg time, and so I was a nerd all the time, and she is so happy. So oh, we are here again, in the roof, and in the museum, a lot of museums. So really love the museums, really. But the Paris is really make me nervous. It's not like kind of you travel, relax, and enjoy the travel things. Is so okay. And anyway, okay, come back. So the Dutch, when I work with them, they are very friendly. And why I say they're friendly because one time I lose my camera on the bus. I say I will never find it back. So when I go back to because I work in work for the energy center of the Netherlands. There's a government and anyway institute. So this is also the green energy things. They working on the gasification for the Minena like over 20 years. So I was there and I doing the catalyst and I co-work with them. And I lose my camera on the bus and I call my friends. My colleagues and says, "Can you help me because I don't speak Dutch? Can you talk with the station people? If anyone pick the camera, can they just let me know?" I said, "Please, yes, okay." So he make a phone call, and the same day afternoon, when I came back to the station, really called my friend, and my friend told me, and I picked it's a SLR, single reflex lens camera. It's an expensive one. It's not a kind of regular. You can exchange the lens, and I have it back. I was so happy. I was so happy, and I don't know, but someone nice and sent back to the bus station, and I took it back. So I always appreciate the people over there. I took it because I got a lot of pressure photos in the camera because my daughter was born just 1 year and I traveled her. She was lucky than me. She traveled like maybe 20 countries because see, when you in the European you travel every weekend. It's so easy and we go to North European and Spain and so and Prague and on the way back we went to Japan and so actually my daughter traveled to like more than 20 countries when she was 1 years old and I got 40 and I can travel so many countries. She only so and she like because people are so nice to her. But when I walk on the Paris, no one care about us. No one care about. When you walk on the Amsterdam, even still on the train, and the old lady, they will say, "Oh, your dog is so cute," and some student will tell me, "Do you want me to carry the stroller?" Something like that. Never happened in the French and German. Never. But in Netherlands, they do. They will say, "Do you need help?" Carry the because we have bag and stroller things, and when they get the train, there's a big gap, so they help you. So I don't know if you want to travel. I would suggest go to the Dutch. I don't know, but there you don't have many things to can see in the Dutch. Okay, so I worked there for half year, so I learned a lot of things, especially for gasification for some basic design things. And the last thing is Tiger. Tiger belongs to the very big company called IHI. IHI is a boat making, I believe, starting from the boat making company, and or still as a big company. And now they designed the gas fired, and then they named it. The name called the Tiger is also the BFB. But the special thing for the Japan for this part is I would admire that says they are very smart. Because why I say they are very smart, you can see here, most of those things they are trying to fix the problem use the wood chips and wood and biomass. But for the Tiger system, actually they focus on the lignite in the very beginning. Lignite is one kind of low rank coal. The carbon content probably less than 60%. Not probably, I would say less than 6% is low rank coal. So they designed the system. Actually, for the regular pulverized power plant, they cannot use those kind of coal because they are very picky. The Taiwan power plant is very picky, so you only can use a certain level of coal. So that's one of limited too. But for the Tiger system, since actually they can feed all those things, why not lignite? Lignite is a lot and very cheap. Because compared with other coal, it's even cheaper. Even the coal content is the carbon content is low, but for economy side, it's a smart choice, very smart choice. So even it's still fossil fuel part of it, but for economy side, is they already built a lot in the Philippines, Indonesia. So far, I have seen two plant running now in the world, and so their strategy is very successful. That's true. Okay, so this the whole world. Okay, so this is why I telling you that Australia is so lucky because they have olive oil available in their country, and because you can see the system here. This is gas fire. This is bubbling fruit vise. So this is BFB, this is CFB, they call the riser. So this is gas fired, and this is a seal loop, or you can call it, what is the other name? Nobody will call it a seal loop. So the biomass is fit in this side, and also they use steam as a fluidized gas. Because the fluidized agent, you can have air, nitrogen, or steam, or any air type things. But air has almost 70%, 70% of nitrogen, and nitrogen has no heating value. So if you use air as a fluidized bed, it's cheap. But when you generate the syngas heating value is very low. So normally, I can tell you straightly, fixed bed, the heating value of the syngas is around like 4 to 5. The regular fluidized bed is around like 7 to 7 is probably very, very good. For the Australia system, they can have 14. They have 14. Because they have a steam to fluidized bed, and the steam after gasification, they go out, they cool down, and fill back this back house. So they remove the ash, and there's a tar wash system they call the Remy system, and then go to the engine. That's all. Straightforward, easy. And you says, oh, why not? It's so easy. Why not use it? And why not? Because they has olive oil. And I will show you why they have olive oil. Why olive oil make the change, make everything change. And the other thing is just how you recycle the heat here. So they use the steam to fluidize the bed. After the heat exchanger, the heat exchanger will lower the temperature, because if you go to the back house, the back house is run like a 200, and the maxima even the mostly it depends on it's a tripone tripone TRXPON. Maybe I spelling wrong, but there's one. Tripone is one type. The other one is Teflon. Teflon can go high temperature around as high as like 250, but actually you run safety around like 200. So before you go to the back house, you have lowered the gas temperature below, around, not below, I would say around like 200. So you have the heat exchange first. And when you're doing the heat exchange, and after the back house and go back, before you go to the power generation, you can remove that, because part of the steam after 100, after the ramming system is lower than 100, so all the steam will be removed. So only the syngas. So why this just like double? You can imagine when you pumping the air in somewhere, and in one chamber, and the chamber make the gasification happen, and there's output, including the air you put in and also the gas you generate from the gasification. And then if it's gas, whole bunch of things is nitrogen, and nitrogen has no heating value, so heating value is so low. And now if you use a steam, if after you remove the steam, you can imagine, if the input air is around like a 70%, and after gasification, so the nitrogen is around like a 45 to 50% in a flue gas. So if you don't have nitrogen, so you double your heating value, just like the example, if you use a steam as a fluidized gas. And the steam can use like heating recycle, and use heating recycle to generate the steam and fluidize the gasifier. So this is good thing, FICFB. And this is another gases, another gas as another case for the Tiger. It's similar. You can see here, the design is very similar. You have feet from here, and this is VFB. And VFB, you have a seal roof go to the riser. So this is CFB. So I will tell you why the particle size and the particle density is so important, because you have to smoothly to control where the sand go and how long it stay in one place. We call the retention time. The retention time of the sand here and here will influence a lot of things, like char. Because char is lower density than other things, because the char is mostly component is carbon. So carbon compared with the sand is component by the silicon oxide or probably some aluminum oxide. And the density for silicon oxide, I believe, is 1.4 or 1.2, and char is around 0.6 or 0.7. So you are floating on the top of the gas fire. So that's one thing when you run the system for a long time. They will cause a problem. For the FICFB, for Australia, actually, they are really facing a lot of these questions, this problem. So they try to fix it. So they publish this year, they publish some method to fix the problem. Okay, so residence retention time is one of the key things to pay attention for because when you're doing the industrial, no one want to stop the system in case there's some emergency things. So no one want to stop. You want it to run 24 hours. So you control the sand here, and you control the sand to move here, and you control the sand tool up here, and with the cycle and recycle the part of the particle is big enough and go down here, and the syngas will go out by here. So this is IHI. They built like a 6 ton per day for the in the Japan, and they have the gas fire and also the riser they call the combustion reactors. So this is one of the, you can see the similar things, but they focus on the design use lignite as a fuel. Okay, so I introduced 2 of 4 for you, and before that, okay, so there's one thing. So the tiger you can see here. Why is it so advantage? Because they compare with other, because they try to commercialize. So if you want to commercialize, of course you want to compare with other things they already commercialize, and you want to show your advantages. Okay, so engine bed, like I mentioned, already industrialized for a long time, and they got a lot of benefits. So why is commercialized? And there's operating pressures. Pressures is one good thing for future truck, but for sometimes for power generation, it's not a good thing. So because it all depends on your purpose, your target when you design a gas fire. What do you want? What do you want? It's impossible. You want chemical at the same time. You want the power generation at the same time. If you want a power generation, so your design, you actually don't want high pressure things, because first things, high pressure things, exchangers, and mostly in the factory, in the plant, is operators to run those things. They had no ideas if they push a button, what's really behind the button meaning, physically or chemically. They have no idea. So if it is a high pressure things, it's dangerous. Second things, if high pressure, it costs more. So the boss doesn't like it. So you don't want the high pressure things unless you want a feature truck. So mostly if you want the power generation, you don't go high pressure. Okay, so compare with moving bed, it means the regular fluidized bed. So this is the difference from the tiger, the dual bed. So compare with the typically, traditionally gas fired differences. So you can see here, the first thing is operating pressure. So the steam part, the gasification part, actually you don't need the high pressure to do it. And the operation temperature, so you separate it. So you know one part is 800, the other one is 1000. So you separate, so your operating temperature is different. And you can see here, engine bed go to 1400. So you can imagine if engine bed, the material what you're going to use it. I can tell you the skill has to be certain skill, or you will not build it. It's not economically sustainable because it's expensive. And for the mooning bed is smaller. You can make it economical, but still you still need something to run it, some skill size. Okay, and regularly you can see they use ASU, so they use oxygen as a fluidized bed. But like I say, ASU for this whole system is perfect, because like I say, you put the oxygen in there, so you make the syngas, no nitrogen. So how perfect it is. But you do know how expensive for ASU it is, and you have to replace the separation membrane for every year or for a certain time, like per season. So it's the maintenance operating cost is high too. So mostly, I believe if you are the boss, if you really want to make money, you don't want to buy ASU. You don't want air separation system unit. and for land they don't need it. And the fuel availability high, which means the low means they only use a coal. Medium, basically those things that should be, because this is made by the tiger, so they try to make it say they are the best because their food is better, design is better, but basically they are similar. And registers is a dry ash, and efficiency, this one's very high, just like I mentioned in the previous slides, because you separate combustion and gasification, so you can push to use all the carbon, but the carbon not go to the heat only. You can mostly convert into the syngas, which contains still have the heating value instead of the burning all out. But for one bad systems, the efficiency is low. Okay, so I introduced the two, and the third one is where I worked for a half year. They call the ECM Minena system. The design of this is a 8 kilowatt Mineta pilot plant. They have another one is a 25 kilowatt, small one, and the heating is not a self-heating system. So the small one is by the electric heat to run in the system. Probably I talking too much because you probably says why I said this, but so this is the meanings of when you have a concept and you try to prove your concept, and you prove your concept, and then you go to certain skill, and after the certain skill you run for a while, says, oh, you facing some problem, and you fix the problem, and then you go to the commercialized. So they have a number, they have a definition for, they call, I lose my mind. I don't remember. So for example, it's like a 8 is commercializable. Probably like concept is a 3 or 4. So they number it to define which step it is of the technology. So if you use electric to heat it up the gas fire and to work at a certain temperature, it's not that kind of realized. It's not in the real world because you control the temperature by the electricity. But self-sustained heating means you generate the heat and to sustain itself and make a gasification process happening. And when you gasification happening, and you go to combustion again, and again the circling to provide the heating, and like a circling, and we'll go to equipment, go to the balance, and when you see the balance, and then that is the realized. So if you have almost like 1 megawatt things and you go to the 10 megawatts, it's not too difficult things. So that's a step by steps. You have a concept and you prove it, it work, and then you have a pilot. You find out the problem, what is the main problem, and then you scale up to commercialize. It's always a step by step. And the design from the Milena compared with other things, like I say, why the residence time is different, you can see. The biomass is goes inside here to the riser. Here, for FICB or Tiger, is go to the BFB, not riser. They feed in the biomass or waste in the riser instead of here. So basically the design, this is an impact chamber. They don't have a cyclone. And so there's basically you have a big cylinder and a small riser inside. And the risers is doing the gasification, and the BFV is doing the combustion. So we reverse the prey rule of Tiger and Goosey. Tiger and Goosey, they use a riser as a combustion, and the BFV use a gasification. But here they use a riser as a gasification, and BFV use a combustion. But why? Look at here. The methane is around 14. Because Milena system, their design, so this is the I says, what do you want? What do you want? For the Minena system, in the very beginning, the old concept and idea is going to make the SNG, the substitute natural gas. The project's running the code that they call the Bluebird for running for many years. And the goal is because on the north side of the Dutch, they has one natural gas miner, and it almost depleted, But because the gas provides supply for many years, like almost like 40 or 30 years. So the pipeline, the infrastructure is very, very good. I mean, infrastructure already built very completely. So most house, they have natural gas piping in their house. So infrastructure already built very completely, which means even the natural gas cannot gain anymore if we have waste or biomass enough, and the system can generate more methane and replace the gas, the natural gas, and they don't need to build the infrastructure, because infrastructure is the most important thing in a project, for most projects. For example, the Olympic, for the coming Olympic, where is, do you know where is the next coming Olympic? Tokyo, right? You're from Japan? No, okay. So when this year I went to Japan, I probably you heard. I'm a car fan. I don't know. Probably few but that girls today they don't like cars. Like my wife, she doesn't like cars, but she like a ride, but she doesn't like cars. Means not cars, but means I always read the engines and the what kind of parts of the cars. Toyota, they released a model called the Vilai. Have you ever heard this model before? 未来 Vilai means future in Japan. Vilai. And it is a FSU. It's a fuel cell. And it's powered completely by the hydrogen gas and generate only water. They absorb the oxygen in the air, and they have a small air separation system. And they put the gasoline, not gasoline, they put the hydrogen into the car tank in the car and power the car. So like 1 liter of gas, the hydrogen, they can run for like 100 kilogram. You can know imagine how incredible it is. So they already realized a complete fuel cell car commercialized. You can, when I was in Tokyo, they really have the car running on the street. But what is the most important infrastructure? Where are you going to go to the gasoline? Now you can go to the gasoline so easy. You find a gas station and so you get gasoline. But if you want to build a hydrogen gas station, the security, wow. I don't know how many CNS have to fit, because in Taiwan the regulation goes CNS you have to fit to make the gas station can run. You have to pass the rules and get approve the CNS. Probably take years, and the take years means no company will investment. And even in the Tokyo, they only probably like 6, and they can do 6 because all the support by the Olympic. Because Olympic, the government support the Toyota. They want a clean city. The last time when where it was in what is the Olympic last time? I remember the air conditioning was not that kind of good last time, so it impacts some where I don't remember. It's in the Beijing. Is it? the big one. I don't know. I don't remember. Last one. Anyway, because last time in Beijing, there's a big authentic some sports activities, and because the bad weather, not bad weather, I said the bad air pollutant, and they don't want to happen again in Tokyo because they got so many cars and they want to replace by the electric car or fuel cell car. So they try to make some infrastructure of the hydrogen gas station or hydrogen station, not gas station, hydrogen station. So infrastructure is most important. Okay, so come back here. It all depends on the goal. So this kind of design, you can have more methane. So you can make more efficiency to convert the waste of biomass to go to the methane, which is the substitute natural gas. Later, easier. So it all depends on what you want, like I say. So this is what the unique design of the Minena. And this is the whole process. So this is more complicated compared with FICFV, right? And IHI is easy too because you just power you just pumping into a power generator, and you get electricity, and you clean. I should say you clean the syngas and the pump into the power generation, and you generate the electricity. And here, okay, you remove the dust by cyclone, and you remove the chloride by the some sodium hydroxide. Use the basic solution to remove the acid, and they have OGA system. OGA system is a specific design for the tar remove, and the OGA system is so unique, but also so expensive. Which means if you want the OGA system to be economical, sustainable, which means that the whole system has to be around like 8 megawatt. 8 megawatt means, okay, it's around like 4 tons per hours feeding. So if you run for like 24 hours, you need at least 100. So, and you need some backup because sometimes you have, in the factories, everything happens. So you always need around. So you need around like 120 tons biomass or waste in one place here. So the storage has be bigger, much bigger. So you have be like 5 days, and so 500 tons or 600 tons capacity of the storage. And then you have the possibility to maintain the running of the factory. And I'm talking about 500 tons biomass. Where you can find those in Taiwan? It's impossible in one species. Maybe many species, but many species has, like I mentioned in the very early times, the characteristic are very different, which means the operating of the gasification is very difficult. If you go to the A, you have push button A. If you go to B, you have push button B. If there's a 25 species, there will be 25 buttons. I'm not telling the truth. The joke is true. For example, like I know a guy who work for the air pollution control systems. Because they are dealing the waste, and the waste have a different content of the chloride and the sulfur and the nitrogen. So they have a different nitrogen. Nitrogen will go to the NOx, and the sulfur will go to the SOx, and the chloride will go to the dioxin or the hydrogen chloride. So it will etch in your system. So for the air pollutant system, he's told me last time he has 12 buttons. When operators see the process in the front, the counting something in some situation, then you push button 1. And if counting in situation 2, you push button 2. And now he is making more buttons to deal with all the different kind of wastes. For example, like the waste from the dyeing factory, you know the dyeing DYE, the dyeing, you dye your clothes because the residues, the sludge coming from the dyeing, they got a very high heating value because it's all organic means. And if you go to the burning season will generate a very high temperature things, and very high temperature gas will go to the air pollution control system. Then you have the heat button, which is control the high temperature system mode now. So they have a different factory coming the waste, and the different waste have a different dealing air pollution control system. So they have 12 buttons. But for me, I don't want those kind of things, right? Okay, so they have a OGA to remove the tar, and they have HDS to remove the sulfur, and they have solvent. So HDS just sulfurize, and to you sulfurize the some press, and by put something in there and sulfurize then, and you use a solvent to remove the sulfur, and you use a reformer. Reformer means you reformer the carbon monoxide to the hydrogen. Because if you go into the uh, this is a methanation. The methanation, you have to control the hydrogen and carbon monoxide ratio. So you have to reform part of the carbon monoxide. So this part control the ratio. So it's all tricky things. You have to make things all very running very smooth. And then you got the maxima produce of a syngas substitute natural gas. So it's very complicated for the if you want to get a chemical, but chemicals give you higher values in the industrial side because you know how much electricity 1 kilowatt is around like 3 or 4, right? So the whole system, you think how skilled it is, and then it will make you money. Is almost impossible. So we are talking about tar. I hope I can finish it before time. It's around 30. Okay. So when you come to the syngas, there's a lot of contaminants well in the syngas, and there will be a tar, particulate, and alkaline metal, and sulfur, and chloride, and ammonia. And sulfur and chloride are acidic things, so you normally you need like a FGD or SDA, semi-dry absorbent system, and to remove the sulfur, and FGD. But FGD has its problem. The dew point go to the 60 T5, so it's go to very low temperature. So you probably make the white cloud. When you see the chimney, the steak, there's some crowd things coming out. Everyone will die. I don't know the number is, and you got EPA, and the EPA will come to investment. So no one wants it, and so the among those contaminants, most headache for the system is the tar. And why is it? It is for tar. You can see here. If you want to go to applications, you can use the IC engine to generate the gas turbine, methanol synthesis, or FT synthesis. FT is Fischer-Tropsch synthesis, particulate, and tars. And you can see the IC engine, internal combustion engine, is just regular engine you can see in the car. We call the IC engine, internal combustion car engine. And the tar has below like 100 milligram. Soot is easier to if you use EP is easier, but tar is so difficult to remove. And this is because the particle removal, you can use a cyclone to remove it, and mostly the particle above like a 10 micrometer, you can achieve around like 80 to 90% of the removal efficiency. But the tar, you can see what the tar happening. Even you have the grid here, It's make like a solid things. It's not tar. Probably you, in the beginning you think like, oh, it's just your things is just floating around. No, a lot of tar actually they are solid. They are solid things and they accumulate, and then final accumulate and will plug your pipe, and system shut down, and you don't know where they plug it. So the tar is so important to be removed, and hope in the same time, because the tar is made by the carbon majorly, because you can see it's black, so the carbon component ratio is supposed to be very high. So if you can have something to remove tar and to use tar as the energy source, so how wonderful it is. So this is what happened for FICFB. Okay, sorry, you can see here the process is so straightforward. After the gas fire, go ahead, they have the heat exchange and go to the back house and to the scrubber. And the scrubber is only to remove the light tar. Tar, actually, I will introduce, there's a 5 classes of type of tar. And why they can use the straightforward system sample like this? Because the sand used olivine. Olivine is a nature catalyst, and only the olivine in Australia, even olivine, even they all call olivine, and only Australia effect, which means the olivine in Australia reduce the heavy tar. So they don't have the things happening like this. It's because they have olivine. So they cannot use it. Okay, if the Gusin is FICV, the design, the company, not company, the location, the demonstrate plan name. If the Gusin want to build another FICV in Taiwan, it is impossible because we have imported the olivine all away from the Australia to the Taiwan. And people will ask, oh, why not import from China? It's near and maybe it's cheaper. And actually, we did. We test. The olivine in the Australia is very unique. The tar reaction, even the composition, even it's all called olivine, but the olivine still have different, even like you have fish, but the different fish have different characteristic. It's the same thing. The olivine in Australia is unique, so they can do something like that. They don't have the issue like this. And they just need an easy ramming system to remove the light tar. And ECN has to develop the OGA system to remove the tar. The OGA costs a lot. So Gusin got his benefit. So here comes the question. I told you the price of the sand, the olivine in Australia is around per kilogram is around $5. So it's like 1.2 US dollars, something like that. If you can make a catalyst and diameter is very homogeneous, it's around like 300 to 500 micrometer, and the cost is the same thing in Taiwan, and you're successful. Because you can have similar system like they are, and you don't need OGA, you don't need the tar something, you just need a ramming system, just use the vegetable oil to wash the air. It's just scrubber system to absorb the light tar. And you can pump the things in. $5 new Taiwan dollars per kilogram. I can tell you it's impossible. By synthesis way, it's impossible. So they got their benefit. So they are switched to another way. They now the last time when I was in an international conference, so I happened to encounter with them. So I pop some questions, and now they know they're successful is lucky, part of lucky that they're smart too, of course. But another thing is they switch to another way. They don't use olivine now. They use the calcine. Calcine is everywhere. Like in Taiwan, you can have calcine. Calcine is part of the concrete things. So tiny, actually they are process the calcine to make the concrete. So they are one of the company. So they're mining in the east side. So calcine is everywhere. It's easier to obtain. But the problem is for the olivine, the hardness, there's a raise hardness level. Olivine is around 7 to 8, and for the calcine, it's around a 2 to 3. So attrition will become very, very serious problem for the gasification, because you have a cyclone to recycle the dust. This is the cyclone. This is a cyclone. So cyclone means that you just normally cyclone have a pressure drop is around like a 100 mini water, and it's making high speed to circle, and particle go down and the air go up. So when you go to circulation, the particle impact the hard part. So if you have a calcine, attrition is very fast. So you lose your bad material very fast. So the good thing, the people over there, the Australia Technology University, they developed the one power plant is 100 kilowatt pilot plant. They use the calcine and they're very successful, but they don't use cyclone. They use impactor. Impactor is something like this. You use gravity to take the particle back. So you use a space to exchange the efficiency. So 100 kilowatt, the impactor is around this kind of size. And this kind of size. If you go to the 1 megawatt, it's probably this size. So I raised the question, and because he's talking, I says, can you commercialize it? So really embarrassing. He says, we are trying to deal with it. Impossible. If you use calcine, but calcine is available everywhere. So they are stocking now. I am saying that they are really stocking. I will see what happened to them for next step, because if they don't use the olivine, they don't have advantage. If they don't have an advantage, the design doesn't mean anything for them. Okay. So tar is one thing, and this is a classic classification of the tar. They classify in the 5 level, and there's a gravity tar which is cannot be detectable by the GC, and there's a heterocycle aromatic like a 1 ring things and 1 ring with a side branch and 2 rings and multiple rings. So they define in the different kinds. So those kind of things, is carbon things, so it can stick. So it's when you stick, it's like solid things. So when he plug your system, it's more or less like solid things instead of your oil, because it's under the room temperature. Actually, like naphthalene, they are solid. They are not the tar is not the liquid form. and this is the dew point. So you want to remove them. It's so difficult in your system because you have to lower the temperature than the dew point, and then you can remove it. For example, if you want to condense the water, definitely you have to remove the temperature, lower the 100. But not only lower the 100, because 100 you still have almost like a concentrate steam in the air. So you still have to go to the temperature around like 65, and then you can say, oh, there's around like a 12 to 60% of water in the air, and then that's okay. It's the same things. You can see 1 to 4 ring, you have go down to the 140. It's very low temperature in the factory. Even the big house, you need to maintain at 200, because if the water condense in that part, you have to change your big house. One bag Teflon is around like 2,000 to 2,500. And for our factory, we have 1,000 for one big house. So you don't want to make the risk. So dew point is important, and tar is hard to remove. This is one thing you need to remember. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of tar removal strategy. So there's a category separate into two, primary and secondary. And primary is you do the removal inside the gasification, during the gasification process. And secondary is after you have the syngas, and then you use the cold way or hot way to clean it up. And cold way is very easy. You just scrubber it or ESP or like Ogan. And hot way is hard. But hot way is the king pathway. Why? Because you don't want the gas temperature drop and up and drop and down. You lose energy. It's impossible. You just waste your energy, because for example, for our factory, we only can use natural gas. And if we cooling down and heat it up and use the extra natural gas, then it's pretty stupid. I can tell you the design, the process, the people, I would say is stupid. So, but hot gas is hard to do it because it's very easy to plug if you facing some heavy tar. So most people, the strategy, the not successful so far, from my knowledge, you have combined the primary method to reduce the heavy tar and have hot gas clean up to remove the light tar. You have those two things happen in the same time. Then even two company probably hired, I'm not quite sure because you're probably not in the business. Topsoil, Johnson Matthey, ring the bill? No. Johnson Matthey, Topsoil? No. There are two companies. One is in British, not British, English, British people, in United Kingdom, and one in German. Those two companies, they already have more than 100 years old. They are two big catalyst suppliers in the world. Very famous. If you keep in Topsoil, Topose, Topsoil. Johnson Matthey, they make a lot of chemicals. They don't do those things because market for them is too small. So you cannot buy those catalysts. So how do you do? So for few like ECN or like Taiwan, like in E3, they develop some of the catalysts and try to overcome the problems by cynical way, but make it cheap. Because if you go to the commercialized, if it's costly, it never happened. Even the efficiency is high, but it never happened. Because I'd rather pick a lot of things. The efficiency is 80, but it costs me around $10. And this one can go to 90, but it costs me $100. I will pick the $10 one. It's always the human beings. Okay, so with technology is just it's just like there's nothing more than those for venturing, packed, cyclone, sprayer. There's a most type is just you have a small modification. You make your spray better. You have your droplet smaller, so you have a bigger uh, interface surface, so your chemical reaction is better. So you make it efficiency better. Then that's all. So modification limited is limited. And this is so the ECN they try to build a 1 megawatt system in France. In France. So I don't know how about the program running. So this is a big program because they have an OGA system in there too. Because I can tell you that even the OGA system probably is twice price of the gas fire. So it's the difficulties. But you can think about if the good thing, the ICFB, they only need this. They don't need this. How much you can save for a capital cost for a starting investment. So that's so that's why they have the demonstrate plan very quickly and have a commercialized plan very quickly. Okay, so that's a few things. The probably have 10 minutes and I will end the discuss. Just introduce you in Taiwan because the lecture is in Taiwan. So I just want to let you know what's happening here. Why I think some policy here is ridiculous for me. Okay, so 99, almost 99% of the energy is imported from Taiwan. It's true. We buy energy from other countries. We don't have ourselves. We don't have a coal. We don't have a natural gas. Everything is import. And the waste to energy is now it's around like a 929 megawatt electricity, but many include municipal and the industrial wastes. Only less than 700 megawatt. So it's less than 7%. And they are more fundamental incinerators. You can see their incinerator capacity is around 224, and the others come from some landfilling, because when you do the landfilling, you generate some methane, and people use the methane to generate the power. This is what they call they call those part of the green energy too. So they put together, then they say, so now we have a 7% of green energy in Taiwan. And then now they want to go to 20%. But we don't want any more incinerator because it's a human nature. I want the incinerator, but I don't want the incinerator next to my house. So it's difficult. And this is the ratio between like biogas, municipal waste, and the industrial waste. And that's the goal for the energy department, the BOE, Bureau of Energy. Okay. So the problem for Taiwan is biowaste is all separate distribute all over Taiwan, and this is Taiwan, and you can see the industrial. Even we got every year we have megatons, like industrial include sludge and wastewater and the food scrubbers, and some agricultural waste is also 1.7 megatons per year available, like a straw, fruit tree branch cut, FTBC, what they call, which are not well utilized yet. Not well utilized yet. So why not? Because the cost is all about money. You want to collect, then you need people, and people you need to pay the money, and it's not cheap. So for those things you have to pay to get the feedstock, it's almost impossible to make the factory run. Even you have some probably to sell some electricity. Even they have some what they call in a term like a refund or not refund. There's a term for it. I don't use it for a while. So if you generate the green energy, so you have purity to sell to the tide power, and it depends on what kind of the green energy. Like biogas is one of 5 point something per kilowatt, and for the wind turbine, probably is the highest one is almost 6 or 7 something. Only 2, so it's going to 2 now. Okay, so my fault. Okay, and how about the PV? PV, I think is in old times around 5 too. It's going down too. Anyway, it's going down. So it's like it going fast rapidly, and now it's plateau. No one want to build those things, and so it's the cost of the issues. When I work in the E3, in the entry, always people want the, the entry good, big, good looking, and so they put some solar panels on the top, on the roof, and it says, "Oh, we are green, we are high tech things." The maintenance for those PV things is very important. You have to clean them, and they will decay, and finally you have to depose them, and you don't know how to depose them now. They are very complicated, and the structure is very complicated. So you cannot separate the glass part, separate the silver stages part, and separate the rubber part. Probably can separate by human beings, but you cost you like you go back to the cost. I don't know what you do. You build so many solar panels, and how you cycle those things. It's true. I'm not joking. And if you're talking about the carbon footprint, do you want count it in? Building produce the PV is one carbon footprint. Do you include in the carbon printer? That's one thing, one question. I'm not quite sure. And dispose then is part of the carbon finger too. If I can show you. I even not even to calculate. I can show you, if you put those two material into calculation, it is not true. So if the government tell you the PV is 0 carbon emission, I don't buy it. If you produce them, it's costs a lot of energies, definitely. And when you dispose them, now go to the landfill. Do you know how much it costs for landfill? For 1 kilogram, it's almost like a 2 to 8. It depends on how toxic it is. 1 kilogram, so 20,000 per ton to 80,000 per ton. Do you know how much it is? For our factory, we create like 20 tons of final product. If the product is defined for toxic things, we have paid for, if 20 times like 20, 400, $4 million per day. No factory will do that. So just think wise. If you think something PV is green, I will say I don't want to say coal is dirty. I just would say if you're doing the job well, you have very good air pollution control system, and you control those people to achieve certain regulation, and not only follow the books, because the books is only here, and what we need is here. The labels is here. Okay, so this is Taiwan. We'll have probably less. So I will give you 2 the cases applications of the Real case is not in Taiwan. It's all in Japan, in Tokyo. And two I have been, and this one I didn't been. This is a small scale gasification power plant in Hiroshima, and this is down drift, so it's not too big and it's workable. The only problem is it's very picky for the feedstock. You only use wood or what do you call the F PDF, FPD, CDF, some replacement RDF, replacement diffusion fuel, RDF5, RDF5. Okay, if I have time, but I don't have time. But anyway, there's another story. So there's how to define RDF5, RDF7, RDF6. There's a definition for that, and they can use RDF5 and 2 as the fuel to the system. And the other two, this is the exercise and introduce to you. I hope you still keep some. Even I said there's still a lot of challenges in the world, and a lot of, if you want to work in a green environmental or to have more ideas for which one is good. For example, like a coal is good and the nuclear power plant is bad, or natural gas is good. You have your own mind and think about it, not only take the concept from others. You have to think by yourselves which one is better. And those plants is picture is taken by myself, so I'm pretty proud I was there. These two power plants built inside the sewer sludge plant. So each one they scale is around 100 times per day, and they operate 1,000 hours per year continuously. So they shut down for a year for one time to do the maintenance. And that's gasification. This is gas fire. This is a CFB. And a whole bunch of things. There's a cyclone here. This is back house. And the other things is behind. And this is FGD. This is to remove the socks. So this is FGD. This is from the back side. But this is two different things, two different plants. And one is starting from 2010. 2010, 8 years, still running. And this is 100 times per day. 100 times per day. And their feedstock is sewer sludge. Sewer sludge, the waste. In the beginning, the sewer sludge, in the 20 years ago, before they started the project and built it and start running, they use the incinerator to burn it and make a brick. And no one want to take the brick because they think the brick is come from some places poisoned, so they don't do the brick anymore. That's a concept thing, so it's hard to sell the brick. And anyway, so they changed to the gasification. They have higher power efficiency conversions, and it is still running. And one is 8 years, and the other one is 3 years. And they are all gasification technologies and CFB technology, and still running. And this is real industrial model. I think Taiwan should do something like this. But the truth, in my business, the difficulty is human beings. Politicians control everything, and there's a local forces. So they control the sewer sludge. They are bidding project. Bidding project means the government has a bidding, and the bidding is controlled by few people, by politicians. Probably it's not good to say in the class, but this is the real world. So it's hard to do we know how to do it. For example, for my company, I know how to do it. I know how to design. I know how to do the best process, and I can guarantee the gas emission from here is definitely not harmless for the human beings. But why I don't have a chance to build it? Not because it's economic sustainability. For this place, no. I can make this economical sustainability, but it's human beings. So think about it. Try everyone's effort and make the world better. And my boss told me always has a good future. Not future. Tomorrow is always better. So I just keep this as maybe one day I can build one of this because we have. I told you we have one factory, so we building the second one, and second one include all the technology. So that's the reason why they hire me. So I design one of this. I hope the next time, the next years, when I give a lecture, I hope I have my own pictures. Okay, so thank you very much for your time. So if you, yeah, so for my quick, I have 10 things. So how many people here? 16, sorry. So raise the hands if you want. Sorry, there's a mark. Like I said, there's our company's mark on it. It's a flash drive, and if you don't like it, just use it. It's 16 gigabyte. It's not too bad to use, and at least you just remove the mark or something or keep it. So what is the technology you're talking about today? Raise your hand. Okay, thank you very much. Very appreciate. Thank you. So for the fruit ice bed, how many countries are introduced today? How many countries are introduced today? Huh? Oh, okay. Okay. So I mean, I introduced 4 different dew fruit ice bed, and the 4 fruit ice bed, dew fruit ice bed. How many? What country they come from? Can anyone say? Japan, Netherlands, Australia, and Dutch. Yeah, Dutch and Dutch. Netherlands, Dutch. Okay. Anyway, I just give. Thank you. Okay, probably from few of them. So okay, so direct and indirect. Which one is more efficient? This one is easy. Raise the hand. No one raise the hand. It's funny. It's like you act like a. I was expect, for example, like when I was teaching in the United States, people is more enthusiasm, to raise the hand and ask me the questions. I don't know. Okay, thank you. Okay, so for the last one, okay, I just don't waste your time. I just probably because I just tried just actually the ideas come from my wife. She's also a teacher. She's always, if you have some small gifts, and people will respond better. I don't know. So I just learn something from her. Actually, she told me a lot every day, a lot. Okay, so what kind of feedstock of those 2 plants use? It's on the board. Raise your hand, please. Last one. What's the kind of feedstock? Feedstock, those gasification they use. What kind of feedstock? Oh, you don't have type C. Oh, sorry. I know I don't have a high. You should go some ASUS or Acer. If you try to study in Taiwan, use ASUS or Acer. Okay. Or I just give you because that's how you ask for the because it also is indirect. Okay. So anyway, anyway, thank you for your time. So hope have a good future so for everyone's and hope you learned something today. Okay. So dismiss. See you guys. Thank you.